Hello, everyone. Hi. It's been long. I don't remember the last time I did a YouTube video, so it's good to be back. I've got I've got some interesting points to talk about today, and I think part of it has been given the insights that I've been seeing in the last. I think it's been 4 weeks since I did a solo video on YouTube, or even 6 weeks, or even 2 months. I don't know. Yeah, but I think over this time, I've had time to do a lot of reflection, do a lot of work in terms of my coursework in neuroscience. This has given me time to think a lot about the things I've been doing. And right at the end of, I think it was last week, yeah, I was working on some things around public health, epidemiology, and health economics and statistics in general. And I was like, okay, are these the natural non-clinical pathways that we medics normally take, especially if you're coming from the global south? So that's what I was thinking about really, really hard. And I was also thinking about this in the context of the course I'm taking right now. There are very few non-medics, like originally, who having done their undergrad in, let me say, nursing, medicine, who go into, for example, neuroscience or data science, right, from undergrad. Rather, uh, nurses, medics opt for public health, epidemiology, and statistics and health economics as more natural, non-clinical advancements in their career. And I've been thinking so hard about this topic, and I'm like, okay, so that's a natural path. Yes, I agree. However, how do we make it work for us, especially when you're just joining in within that early stage? And the reason I'm thinking about it that way is because the much of the entry level positions require experience. So if you're a medic, I know you've probably come across these advertisements that say if you're doing public health, if you're doing epidemiology, you need to have like at the very least 5 years experience. That's what I've been seeing. So you need to have 5 years experience in this field, so for you to get an entry kind of level position, or you need some a little bit of experience in terms of, let me say, internships, projects, and those kind of things. So it got me thinking, if I am an entry level medic and I've taken this non-clinical route and I want to make myself a bit more competitive, what would it look like? So I've been thinking hard about this topic generally. So I wrote an article. I'll leave a link to the article here. So this article was about self-learning, and in this article, I listed 5 steps for self-learning. So in these 5 steps for self-learning, the whole idea here is that while you are doing your 2, 3 years or even 1 year program in public health, epidem stats, and health economics, is that somewhere over there you cultivate the culture of self-learning. And this is different from the learning you've been doing in medical school. And the reason this is different is because self-learning really involves you picking a problem that you really feel that you can address, and tackling it over and over so that it can help you grow within that field. So that's like the essence of self-learning in this case in the academic space. And the reason I laid out these 5 steps is because people come for me for a roadmap, and I'm like, hey, there is no roadmap. What you are better off having are fundamental principles that allow you to maneuver through this space or this field, at least to make you more competitive or on the edge of things. So in these steps, I talk about, for example, how you can identify your North Star. And in this case, I talk about North Star. So let me just pull it up. I talk about North Star as something that goes deep, like the why in this case. Basically, it's the why. So let me just go. If you are trying to figure out why you are going into this field or why you are taking up this field, to me, that's sort of your North Star. And you end up redefining that why over and over again. And that's the way it happens. So after that, I talk about step two, which is solving a problem. And in this case, I talk about before starting a concept, you should really figure out what the problem looks like in that field. So in this case, in public health, epidemiology, and stats, and health economics, you need to understand the problem. So maybe the why. So in this case, the first point in the why, I mentioned that it's about the environment you're from. So if you're a nursing student, how you view problems within that space sort of influences the why. Then picking up the problem or solving a problem. So if first you solve a problem within that space using the content that you have. Then number three then is learning the fundamentals. So in this case, still within the space of public health, epidemic, and all that, there are fundamentals that you need to pick up that will help you solve these problems. And most of the time, the content that you are used to in medical school is basically regurgitating whatever we learn. So I'll go over books, then during exam, I just try to remember what I learned. That is by far what theory is about in medicine, unless you are handling a patient. Now, the challenge here is that the self-learning, you can't self-learn on a patient or in a real world scenario. So that means that you need to find a way in which you will interact with the fundamentals and go to apply them somewhere else. So hence, learn the fundamentals, which is step three, and then step four, practice and retrieval of the fundamentals, which is very important. And then lastly, after that, it's show what you've learned by explaining the problem, explaining your approach, how this happened. So those are like the 5 steps of self-learning I pointed out. But now the reason why I'm doing this video again is because I laid down those 5 steps, but I kept on thinking, okay, how does one pick up that problem and develop, how can I put it, develop the skills of seeing a problem, working on that problem, and improving themselves based on that problem so that they can become competitive or on the edge. So, just to make this practical, for example, I'll give myself as an example. I did public health. I did an online course. However, I felt like even though I've done public health, I am not as competitive as any other person in public health. Like, there's nothing unique with me. I've done medicine, I've done public health, but again, what's unique with me? So in this case, I had to really try and figure out the skill of picking a problem and making myself competitive compared to my peers who have done public health. And hence, I came across neuroscience, and in one way or the other, I've been able to string up a few things around that has helped me do that. So now in this case, I'm asking myself, or I'm asking the larger community in public health, epidemiology, biostatistics, and health economics, how can you pick a problem? The art of really picking a problem, sitting down with it, understanding it, going over all over the curve that involves problem solving, and then use it as a medic within this early phase of your career to make something different in comparison to your whole cohort. So, in essence, that's what I was thinking. And I think because I've been thinking about that, that will really influence the next or the subsequent videos that come out of Afya Data. So over here, I like to talk about medicine data and everything that involves medicine and data. However, I think most importantly for us is, okay, how can you translate that into a practical career I don't want to say manual or guide or steps, but something that can be easily reproducible even with other people. So in this case, whatever I'm doing, it's definitely not unique to me. Very many people have done it. However, I think for the younger generation or people coming in within this space, these steps are not outlined. No one is talking about this. No one is sharing techniques of how to go about it. Someone will just tell you, do public health, do epidemiology, do statistics, do health economics, and then what? And then what? Great. I would like to end it at that. This was me just ranting. We've got some couple of cool ideas coming up next at Afedata. So please make sure to like, comment, please, and yeah, see you on the next. And bye bye.